Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be going over a new VST instrument called The Legend by Synapse Audio. It is an emulation of the MiniMoog or MiniMoog, whichever you prefer. And to spice it up, I'm actually going to be a bit bigger. To spice it up, I'm going to kind of explain how to go about programming a plugin that emulates the MiniMoog. Or if you just happen to have the opportunity to steal one, you'll be able to program it. So let's look at this. So basically how the synth works, and a lot of synths work this way, is you program left to right. Always kind of remember that. You have your oscillator section, your mixer section, and then your filter. And then you have your envelopes, which would be your filtered envelope, and then your amplifier envelope. Now these are all kind of hardwired in. This is the days after modular kind of things. This is where you wanted something convenient that was already patched in. And that was kind of really interesting back in the day. Anyway, so let's start off by, this is the init patch here. Let's turn these other oscillators off. These oscillators are very much similar. The only difference is the third oscillator has the option to enable and disable Katurk, which is a key track. So if you turn that off, we'll just turn that one on right now. You can play up and down the keyboard. And if you turn off key track, no matter what key you press, it is a single cycle, like it's just static. It's always the same sound. Make note of that because that's very important later for how synths work. So we'll actually turn that back on, turn that off. And yeah, we'll start off with this one. We'll actually turn down the noise. So, and we'll open that, disable that. I'm just kind of going over so I have the ability to slate things and explain it. So you have this right here. This is a single oscillator. Nothing fancy is going on here. You can select varying forms. It is not like the sub fatty, the slim fatty, or the sub 37, where you can interpolate between these shapes. It's very like hard set, even if you like press a key. You can't interpolate between them. There's no kind of pulse width modulation you can do. It's very much like you pick a shape and you better be happy with that because that's all you're getting. The range is the octave. That's pretty self-explanatory. It goes up and down 12 semitones. And notice the low. The low is very low. It's like a division of what you're playing here. Semi is a semitone. So you can go plus or minus. This can be interpolated. And one cool thing, you go up to 7. So say if you make these two the same here. Right, classic kind of electro housey sort of thing. And that's by having a like a kind of a pulse, a square pulse on oscillator 2 and a square on oscillator 1, but you have it detuned plus 7 cents, which is a fifth, I think. Don't quote me on that because I usually don't know what I'm talking about. And then you can double click to set it back to 0. And then you have your fine tune, which you would need because if you have two of these going on at once. You can detune them slightly and get a wider sound, which sounds pretty neat. We have all three oscillators kind of hardwired into the mixer section. So you have varying volumes of oscillator 1, 2, and 3. It's very interesting. And then you have noise. You can introduce noise. Noise is just, there's no pitch to it. There's no pitch to noise. So there's no need to have that pitch track. It's either on or it's off, and it can be turned on by turning it up. And of course, you can have just noise, right? And that's your noise. Noise is the ability to add, I guess, noise to it, noise to your sound. You can add a layer, make it sound a bit more dirty. So over here, you have your filter section. And the filter section, you know, things are kind of hardwired in. So yeah, the filter on Moog or Moog synths is very special. The ladder filter, you can select either 12 or 24 dB per octave. So when you're talking about dB or dB per octave, the higher value, which means the more steeper cutoff, you'll notice right there. If I turn on the 12, if it's on 12 right now, if I turn on the 24, it'll become a steeper cutoff. So yeah, it's all about finding the right dB per octave here. So yeah, and then from there you have the resonance, and what this does is this boosts and it's basically feedback where the cutoff point is, kind of creating a bump in it. I think if I turn on the noise, you'll be able to see it better. Right? Be creating that bump right there. You can see it even more with 24 dB per octave. So with that being said, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with the filter and just white noise. So remember over here we have the key track on and off. You can actually key track the filter. You can key track the cutoff point, because what is a cutoff? A cutoff is basically just frequency. So you can key track Mary had a little lamb and I can't play it because my thing is on a different one. So I engage the key track of oscillator 1. So the resonance is actually the fundamental, and you can do that with filters. It's actually pretty exciting. And the one thing about Moog style filters is they self-oscillate. What you can do is you can boost the resonance. So right now, nothing's going on. Just a little bit of low-end noise. Not quite sure what that's about, but nothing's happening. But if you boost the resonance, turn the key track, right? I have nothing. Nothing. No. Volume down, volume down. Nothing going into the filter, but if I press a key, and what's happening is the feedback is so great that it's filtering back in and creating like a microphone up to a speaker. I think that's the what's occurring here. It's called self-oscillation, and it's kind of a way to get somewhat of a sine wave. You can do all sorts of stuff. Right. Pretty fun. All right, let's move on here. From there, let's turn on this oscillator. All right, so we have our cutoff here. And envelopes allow us to kind of map a way to modulate or attach an envelope to a hard set point. Mind you, this isn't modular, but you can kind of affect the cutoff. The ability to increase the envelope amount. Right now it's at 0. Right, I'm not touching the cutoff, but the cutoff is closing. We can adjust it by selecting the decay all the way down so we can kind of hear it more kind of exaggeratedly. Right, and that is a way of, these three things are controlling the cutoff, which is quite nice. So you can get like plucks and like basses, classic things that you hear. So I'll set that back to 0. So we have, right, and then we have our amplifier envelope. Our amplifier envelope is mapped to, I guess, the output of all three of these summed together. Right, so it is indeed amplified. So what we can do is we can adjust, the attack, the decay, the sustain, or the release to make well, if you increase the release, there's a tail. And if there wasn't, it would just be instantaneously off. Very interesting. With the attack, you can adjust how long it takes for it to kind of raise up. Right, and that is pretty cool. Right, so you can create kind of pads, and yeah, you can adjust things. Right, and that's all well and good. Set those back to where they were. What I'm thinking. So we have a filter drive, which is, this isn't kind of pure to the original unit, but you could overdrive the filter, and that would create a nice kind of smudgy saturation. Right, there's that, and then there's the feedback, which is match the drive. So the idea was you'd have like the output or the headphone output that you would feed back into the input. You get a nice kind of feedback. You get like kind of a harsher sort of thing, and that's all. So you get like a beefier kind of smudgy, saturated sound, which is which made the original unit famous. And then it was actually an accident. They used like the wrong part in the filter drive. I'm sure there's some analog synth historians. I'm not an analog guy, but I'm sure there's some historians in the comments that will kind of explain what happened in the original MiniMoog. So let's go up to the top here. This does not mean peanut butter. This is pitch bend. Why isn't that working? Interesting, that is not working. Why isn't pitch bend working? Anyway, what it's supposed to do is kind of bend the pitch. Oh, pitch bend range, sorry. So there's no pitch bend range. I have to increase that. I think the original was hard set to an octave, which is 12 semitones. So you get some nice kind of, expression with the pitch. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the original was set to, but that's what the peanut butter thing means. The mod wheel doesn't do anything, but I know why. Is because it is not set to affect anything. So I'll give you an idea. So I want modulation source. Remember how oscillator 3 has key track on and off? Let's listen to oscillator 3 with the key track. Let's bring it down low. Get down to very low cycles. Let's turn the key track off. We have a very low oscillator here. So well and good. I want to have the modulation source to be oscillator 3. I have it set to oscillator 3, and I want that to affect the filter. It's right here. Turn that on. You can also have it affect the oscillator pitch. Actually, turn this down. Oh, turn the mod wheel up. Sorry. So oscillator 3 is now affecting the pitch of oscillator 1 and 2. Right, you can do all sorts of weird stuff with that. Let's adjust the filter. Like that. Right. Really cool, really fun to do. So think of oscillator 3 as its own independent. No, oscillator 3 can be set as a third oscillator, or it can be set as an LFO, like a free running LFO with varying shapes. Very cool. And glide is the amount of time it takes for one note to glide into the next. Then, of course, go up and down your octave, like the tuning across everything. You can adjust the tuning. You have your effects, which we'll get into a little bit later. So let's go. To the voicing. Now this is unique to the Legend because there was no way to have polyphony in the original units, and no way to have unison unless you kind of recorded it twice and adjusted the fine tune. But we'll go with that. So you can have a four voice polyphony, which wasn't possible in the original unit, and then unison, which basically stacks this up, and you can hear kind of the thicker sound. It's because it's basically stacking these up, adding a unison effect. This could be done like with chorus or some sort of unison-y outboard effect, but it wasn't necessarily in the original unit. It's always mono, one voice. Then you have your overall volume here. Let's flip it over and see what's going on. Here, I'm not going to get too much into, so you'll notice if, you have, let's say, you hold a note and then you press another one, it'll slowly go up. You can play around with that and have it to retrig. And do all sorts of fun stuff with the mono mode. Modulation, pitch range for the modulation. Under the hood, things I don't think you could really adjust back then. Key tracking, you can do some fun stuff like drift, where you can adjust the drift of the oscillator. Analog oscillators were notorious for going out of tune, and that's just the nature of it's a complex piece of analog hardware. When it warms up, it will kind of go out of tune. Things will get warmer, and the resistance will go down. It really affects it, and yeah, that's why you'd have to kind of wait for it to warm up a little bit before all that. Now modern Moog synths automatically kind of calibrate and correct themselves, and their tolerance to hot or cold is far greater, which is good for everyone. Filter, I think this is, I guess, if you would like open it up and like recalibrate it, you can adjust the cutoff range and the amount of resonance. I'm not a historian, so I can't really tell you. But yeah, these kind of customizations you can do under the hood. Like I would say it's the equivalent of opening up the unit and calibrating it. because they're all variable resistors and stuff like that underneath there. You can also boost the saturation if you're so inclined back here. And then, yeah, you have your effects, which you can turn on here. Wet, dry. Really cool. And it's just, when you're learning synthesis, you should start with, the basics. Start out with, should I say, a legend? This is just very simple subtractive synthesis. What else? Am I missing anything? No, I'm not. That is basically it. Besides this that I noticed, you can select the mains frequency. North America and Europe and a lot of countries have different mains frequencies. Like in North America, it's 60 hertz, so you get a hum of 120. Or it's it's 120, so you get a hum of 60 hertz, and this is just different units. Will sound different no matter kind of where you are. Anyway, all nice and good. Don't open it up. You risk electric shock. And yeah, hope you learn stuff. Take care and have a good one.